Dillian Whyte and Big Baby Miller continue to go back and forth on social media. I watched an IFL interview, I think it was yesterday, with Eddie Hearn, where he said he loves the Dillian Whyte Big Baby Miller fight. Loves the fight. So it won't be a problem on Eddie Hearn's half in terms of making that fight. It's possible, but I would imagine unlikely that Dillian Whyte could fight Big Baby Miller in the US later on this year, because there's still a possibility that Anthony Joshua could fight Kubrat Pulev in Vegas. And if that happens, then they could make a Dillian Whyte Big Baby Miller fight on the undercard of Joshua Pulev in Vegas. And even though Eddie Hearn says it's still 50-50 whether Joshua Pulev happens in Vegas or Cardiff, I'd be surprised if it happens in Vegas. I know that the US television want Joshua to fight there because they see the potential in him, especially after the Klitschko fight, to be a big draw even in the US. I don't know. I'm not sure if Pulev is the right opponent for Joshua to make his US debut like that. You know, maybe, I don't know, maybe if they can build the beef between Miller and Dillian Whyte, that could sell it. I mean, it could be like the situation with when AJ fought Eric Molina. They had Dillian Whyte and Chisora on the undercard. And I think at this stage, Eddie Hearn knows Dillian Whyte is a guy that you have to sell on confrontation. That's when he's at his most marketable, when he's in there with someone else who's going to talk smack back with him. Dillian is a confrontational guy. He talks trash. He'll fight anyone. He loves drama. He loves insulting people and getting into altercations with other fighters. He likes all that stuff. And so he has to have an opponent that can go along with that kind of thing. That's why Derek Chisora was the perfect opponent for Dillian Whyte from a marketing standpoint after Joshua, because him and Chisora were going back and forth and talking smack and flipping tables and all that kind of thing. Eddie Hearn knows that that's how you sell a Dillian Whyte fight. So that's why he likes the Dillian Whyte Big Baby fight, because Big Baby's that kind of guy. He talks smack too. And him and Dillian, the build up to that fight would be crazy. Imagine having the build up to that fight with all the flipping tables and crazy stuff happening in the United States. That's probably what Eddie's thinking. So yeah, if Joshua Pulev happens in Vegas, you could have Whyte, Jarrell Miller on the undercard. Dillian Whyte these days looks in much better shape than he has recently. I'm not sure what he's weighing now, but you look at the recent interviews of him, or if you watch him on social media, some of the training he's doing, I don't know what he weighs, but he looks in a lot better shape than we've seen him for a long time. He's just been working hard and solidly on his fitness, as he should. So it's going to be interesting to see what type of weight he's at, as I say, when he's out in August. And there's a lot of people complaining about this fight on the undercard of Terence Crawford, Julius Ndongo, saying he needs to fight somebody good, this, that, and the other. This is not an Eddie Hearn show. I don't get why people are complaining. It's not an Eddie Hearn show. It's a Bob Arum show. So Eddie Hearn's not going to make much money from this show. You can't expect him to, you know, fork out all kinds of money to put Dillian in with somebody good. It's just an 8-round takeover fight. That's all it is. I don't see what's the problem with Dillian Whyte having an 8-round takeover and then having a bigger fight later on in the year. I don't see what the problem is. You go back and look at all the greats, from Julio Cesar Chavez to Muhammad Ali to James Toney to everybody. They all had these little takeover fights. I don't see why Dillian and Eddie are being picked on for having a little 8-round takeover. I don't understand it. It's not like they don't plan to fight somebody better later on in the year. They do. So what's the issue that people have? You know, personally, I wouldn't have had any problem with him fighting Michael Grant. It's just a takeover fight. It's just him getting some target practice. You know, that's all it is. All the greats used to do this. So I don't see what the problem is. Again, it's not Eddie's show. It's Bob Arum's show. Bob Arum has probably given Eddie a budget and said, this is your budget. You know, I mean, this is a Terence Crawford show. That's what it's about. It's about Crawford and Ndongo. It's not about the guys on the undercard. Let's be real. It's about Crawford and Ndongo. So neither Eddie Hearn nor Bob Arum are going to start forking out big money when they're not going to make no money off the Dillian Whyte fight. Whoever White's fighting on that undercard. They ain't going to make no money off that. Nobody in the US knows Dillian Whyte. So, yeah, that's what that is. I hope Big Baby Miller versus Dillian Whyte happens. I think it would be an excellent fight. I think Dillian Whyte is definitely the more skilled fighter. I think he throws the more correct punches. I just went and watched the Derek Chisora fight again recently. I got it saved, a HD version on my hard drive. And looking at it second time around, you know, I scored it for Chisora first time around. I had him winning by, I think, a round or two. Watching it second time around, I actually thought Dillian won the fight. There was a lot of inside work that Dillian did, landing these nice, crisp, short little punches on the inside that he was constantly landing on Chisora. Didn't have a massive amount of power behind him, but they were clean, well-delivered shots that he was landing on the inside constantly. And I guess that's what the judges picked up on, but maybe me and a lot of the other viewers didn't pick up on. Chisora landed the more eye-catching shots throughout the fight, but he didn't land enough of them for me. And I honestly feel like Dillian Whyte did actually win that fight. And with his improved fitness, which he now has, him against Big Baby Miller will be interesting, very interesting. Again, I think Dillian's the more skilled fighter, throws the crisper shots, but Big Baby at 300 pounds, and he looked like he could walk down a rhino. He looks like he could walk down a flipping elephant. That's how big Big Baby is. The Showtime commentators, or one of the Showtime commentators who was commentating on the Big Baby Jarrell Washington fight, he said he's seen one-bedroom apartments in New York City that are smaller than Big Baby Miller. That's how big Big Baby is, Jarrell Miller. So, yeah, interesting to see these guys going back and forth. Jarrell Miller coming out with all the jokes about English muffins and scallywags and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny to me anyway. Hearing Big Baby come out with his interpretation of English slang, what he thinks English slang is. It's all jokes. So, yeah, let me know how you feel about this in the comment section below. Big Baby versus Dillian Whyte. Will the fight happen? As I say, unless it's on the undercard of a Joshua fight, I can't see it happening in the US. And if that don't take place, if Joshua don't fight in the US, then I don't see how this fight is going to happen, because Miller is unwilling to fight in the UK. You know, I don't get it. You know, interestingly enough, I'll leave a link to this in the description below. There's a documentary, which is not on YouTube as far as I can see. It's on Vimeo. A little behind the scenes documentary of Jarrell Miller's fight with Gerald Washington. It shows him, like, I guess the day of the fight or the day before the fight, and behind the scenes before he goes out into the ring, and then after the fight and whatnot. And it's interesting, when he's in the dressing room before the fight, Eddie Hearn comes in and introduces himself to Miller, and he says to Miller, "Don't forget to mention us after the fight. Make sure you mention us." So that kind of gives you an insight into some of the things that go on in boxing. Sometimes fighters don't necessarily just call out somebody, a rival fighter or a rival promoter. They'll get prompted by the rival promoter when he comes in their dressing room. Don't forget to mention us after the fight, you know. It's all good for promotion, and it's good for business. So, yeah, I'll leave a link to that in the description below, so you can go watch that. It's pretty interesting. And but yeah, you know, Jarrell saying he won't fight in the UK, he knows better than that. You know better than that, Big Baby. You know the UK is where the money is at in the heavyweight division. Wilder ain't earning nothing like Joshua's earning. You only earned, what, 70 grand in dollars for your last fight? That's like 50 grand in UK money. Dillian Whyte's making more money than that. A lot more money than that in the UK. So you and Dillian in the UK, I'm telling you, you're going to earn a hell of a lot more than you've ever earned before in your professional boxing career if you fight Dillian in the UK. So, I don't know. Let me know what you feel in the comment section below, people. It's happening. I'm out.